Hey everybody, I'm Chef Tom with atbbq.com, and this is Ham Hocks and Collard Greens. All right, collard greens. Collard greens are this thick, leafy green that require a good amount of cooking time, preferably in a braise so you can really get that liquid, that flavor into the greens. This has been a staple in African-American Southern soul food for ages, and it's absolutely delicious. Today we're going to be preparing a ham hock stock that we can braise those greens in. And the ham hocks are these smoky knuckles and bits of ligament and meat and skin. It sounds a little weird, but when you put all of that pig flavor into your stock, you get all of that flavor coming back out into the greens. So let's get started on our ham hock stock. Now we'll be preparing this dish from start to finish today on the Kamado Joe Classic III over a bed of charcoal. So we need to get our charcoal hot. All right, so we're starting off with some lump charcoal. We can get our charcoal lit with the electric torch here. We'll be in business in no time. And once we get these coals going, we're just gonna let this thing come up to temp. So for the stock, we've got some veggies, we've got some aromatics in our thyme, bay leaf, garlic, a little bit of red chili flake, and then we've got our ham hocks. And like I said, these you buy at the store just about anywhere. They come already smoked. There's a decent amount of meat in them, but there's also a lot of connective tissue, and that offers a lot of flavor to the stock. All right, so a couple of ham hocks there into our 7-quart Dutch oven. So our garlic cloves, we just need to smash them. You can even throw the papers in there if you want. We're gonna strain all of this off later, so you don't have to worry about taking that off of there. Also go ahead and throw in our fresh thyme right now, our bay leaf, and those chili flakes, which you can leave out if you don't want to add any heat. And then we've got our carrot. I just gave this a good scrub, didn't bother peeling it. We're just gonna do a large dice. And then finally we've got our onion, and we're just gonna do a large dice on that as well. I am gonna peel the skin off the onion because I can see that there's some dirt on the surface, and I don't want that in our stock. All right, so we've locked in the airflow now. Our coals are hot. We're riding at about 425 to 450. Gonna drop our grates into place. Get our Dutch oven over the charcoal, and then we'll add our water. So cool water here, we've got 1 gallon. We're just gonna fill that right up. It's gonna come up to a simmer, and we're gonna allow it to reduce down all the way to about 2 cups of liquid. So the ham hock stock's been rolling away for about an hour now, and you can see that it's really reduced down. We're gonna flip our ham hocks over and show you guys what it looks like. All right, so we're simmering away. I'm just gonna roll these guys around a little bit, since now that the tops are exposed, we want them to break down the meat on both sides. But this isn't quite there. We're gonna go a little bit longer, keeping an eye on this. Like I said, we wanna reduce this down to about 2 cups, but also we really wanna make sure that this meat on this ham hock is tender so that we can pull it away to add it to our collards. Now we're into this ham stock for a little more than an hour and a half, and our ham is looking super tender, and that's really our indicator to see if we're done. Also, that liquid level has dropped down pretty low, so let's take a look, make sure that these ham hocks are really tender, and then hopefully we'll be pulling this thing off. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. If we check out these ham hocks, the meaty sections, we can pretty much just pull that away, and that's what we're looking for. All right, let's get this off of here. We're gonna pull these ham hocks out of the stock now. We're gonna be able to shred those up and discard the parts that we don't need. And then we also wanna get the stock strained off. All the solids are gonna get thrown away, and we're just keeping the liquid to cook our collard greens. All right, I feel like we're gonna be pretty close on our 2-cup mark. Let's take a look. Nice, just a little extra to spare. But this is what's so full of all of that pork flavor right now. So now we're gonna take our ham hocks apart. We'll start by taking off that skin. And then this should just kind of fall apart at this point. Yeah, you can peel that right away from the bones, the ligaments. And then you're just gonna pick through here, looking for the meat and getting rid of everything else. So if you've got a big old layer of fat like that, probably don't want to chew on that later, so we'll go ahead and set that aside. But the rest of this stuff in here, I mean, this is pretty good looking stuff. We can dice that up. We're gonna add it back to the greens as they cook to just work that porky flavor throughout. So this is all just kind of sifting through what you think you'd want to eat and what you don't think you'd want to eat. If it's fatty and you got ligaments and stuff like that, let's get rid of it. This is almost kind of a throwaway cut, so the fact that we're getting some utilization out of it is a great thing. There's a lot of great flavor to be added to a dish through a piece of meat like a ham hock. So now we're gonna get into prepping the collard greens. All right, so this is what our greens look like. They've got this big, thick stem on them, and we wanna get rid of that because that's really tough to break down. So you can either kind of strip the leaves off like that, or if you're gonna do it just a little bit nicer, and honestly, I think it's just as quick, just take your knife and run it right along the side of that rib, and you just cut that right out of there. So for a couple pounds of collards, which is what we're using today, you're gonna do this, I don't know, 50 times, 100 times, who knows? It'll take a little while, but once you get these broken down, we're just gonna slice them into about 1/2 inch thick strips that will look about like this. You can kind of roll this up here, and then we'll just go roughly 1/2 inch strips. And that's all the prep there is on those collard greens. You do want to make sure you give the leaves a good wash. There's often some dirt left behind on the collard greens, and I like to do it when the stem is still on. It just gives you something to hold on to. So I'll just run them under cool water, give them a little scrub, and then move on. They're almost water resistant. When you see it, it's like the water just rolls right off of them. So don't worry that they're getting wet. It's not going to ruin your recipe that you have wet collard greens. So in addition to the collards, we need some onions and garlic. We're gonna do sliced onions today, so we'll just go relatively thin. We just kind of want those to melt into the collard greens. Take the top and bottom off, and then just go all the way around. So garlic, we're just gonna crush this down. We'll peel the skins off and then mince it up. Want about 2 tablespoons total. All right, guys, we are back at the grill. We're gonna throw in a little bit of our chili infused oil, and we're gonna start to cook down our onions. This is the same Dutch oven we were cooking in earlier. We just rinsed it out, threw it back on to preheat. We're at about 400 to 425 degrees. We're gonna hit this with just a little bit of Cattleman's Grill California tri-tip seasoning. So just a savory steak seasoning. Just kind of build some depth of flavor here. And we're just looking to soften these up a little bit before we throw everything else back into the pot. All right, we're gonna come in with our garlic now. Just need to give that about 30 seconds to kind of waken everything up. And then we're ready for our greens. So we're just gonna start throwing in a handful of greens at a time here. We're gonna fill this pot up pretty much. These cook down a ton, but you'll see this pot's gonna go from being almost full to much less once these are fully cooked. And then right there on top, we can add our diced ham hock, bringing that back into the situation. And of course, that flavor-packed ham hock stock that we made earlier. So we're just gonna close the lid up now and let this cook down. Well, it's been about 45 minutes now. Our greens have cooked down, they're nice and tender, and we've been developing this delicious, what we call pot liquor, that sauce in the bottom. But we wanna complement that with a little bit of sweet and a little bit of tang. So we're gonna finish it off with just a little brown sugar and a little apple cider vinegar. All right, so the greens are nice and tender. We got that sauce that's kind of formed in the bottom from the ham hock stock. We're gonna add to this 1/4 cup of brown sugar and 1/4 cup of apple cider vinegar. We just need to get that in there long enough to kind of dissolve and to work its way into the sauce that's already in the bottom. And then I can tell you from experience, this is gonna need just a little bit of salt, so we'll hit it with some now and then we'll check it for the flavor once we get it back over to the table. Little hickory smoked flaked salt in here. And let's just give that just a couple minutes for all those flavors to kind of meld together, and we'll pull this off. All right. That's smelling good. Now those greens are just cooked all the way down. Great chunks of ham hock in there. Let's have a little taste. When I'm dishing this stuff up, you gotta make sure you get some of that pot liquor in there. In fact, I'll even eat this stuff with a spoon because I wanna be able to slurp that up. Oh man. That pot liquor is unreal. I mean, it's worth all that time that we put into the ham hock stock, and just finishing it with that little bit of acid and that little bit of sweetness, it balances out all that savory. The ham hock just falling apart. The greens still have texture to them, they're not mush. All of those flavors work together so well. I mean, this is home cooking at its finest. But thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to check out atbbq.com for all the products featured in today's video. If you enjoyed the recipe, hit that subscribe button. And if you have any questions or comments, or there's anything you'd like to see me cook, let me know in the comment section down below, and let's be good to one another. For more recipes, tips, and techniques, head over to atbbq.com/thesauce. All things barbecue, where barbecue legends are made.